Hello world, today in Hacking News, one of the dumbest cybercriminals we've seen on this channel has just been jailed for 6 years. The guy tried to hack his own employer but failed miserably. This is an interesting one. I am of course talking about the Ubiquiti hack. Trust me when I say the rabbit hole here runs deep. Ubiquiti is a company that sells premium IoT products, things like Wi-Fi routers, security cameras, and smart locks. Security is pretty central to their reputation. I mean, would you buy a security product from a company that was accused of covering up a catastrophic data breach? But let's back up a bit. Our story begins in early 2021, when Ubiquiti customers received an email notifying them of a data breach. It said, "We cannot be certain that user data has not been exposed. Things like names, emails, and hashed passwords had all apparently been grabbed by hackers. People were told to change passwords and enable 2FA. However, on the surface, this seems like a pretty typical low-impact data breach, the kind that happens almost daily. Some people took to forums to voice their anger, others were more understanding, and former employees spawned to dunk on their old boss. Pretty standard stuff, nothing much of interest, but the rabbit hole deepens. Ubiquiti assembled an incident response team to investigate the hack, a team which included one Nicholas Sharp. Nicholas was a senior developer at Ubiquiti. On a salary of almost $250,000 per year, the guy was making good money. No one suspected that Nicholas himself was the mastermind behind the breach. It turns out that Nicholas was just about to quit working at Ubiquiti. He'd lined up a new job, and so he launched a plot to squeeze a couple $1 million worth of Bitcoin out of his soon-to-be former employer. The plan was simple: use his access to Ubiquiti's AWS servers and GitHub repositories to steal gigabytes of confidential data, then send Ubiquiti an anonymous email demanding 50 Bitcoin in exchange for deletion of the data. All whilst using his big brain to implement perfect OPSEC to avoid detection. What could go wrong? Well, you see, Nicholas's OPSEC was about as sophisticated as a 15-year-old script kiddie. He planned to do all of the above from his home PC, hiding behind a Surfshark VPN subscription. But in fairness, there was some rationale to this. Surfshark does claim not to keep logs, which was apparently verified quite recently by an external auditor. However, whilst this might be enough peace of mind for someone wanting to torrent a few films whilst avoiding legal letters, more high-level criminals might want to not rely entirely on a VPN, especially when they're paying for it using their personal PayPal account. But regardless, Surfshark's no-log claims never actually ended up being tested because Nicholas failed at the first hurdle, setting up his VPN properly. Many VPNs, including Surfshark, have a kill switch feature, so if for whatever reason you lose your VPN connection, your internet access will be completely cut off until the VPN connection is restored. However, Nicholas presumably just didn't turn this feature on. Whilst he was in the midst of stealing gigabytes of source code from Ubiquiti's GitHub account, for a brief moment his VPN connection dropped, which caused his computer to revert to using its default connection, leaking his true IP address right into GitHub's logs. And so regardless of his other attempts to cover his tracks, which even included modifying session files to implicate his co-workers, it didn't matter. The FBI raided his home and seized his devices. But the story doesn't end there. The rabbit hole goes deeper still. At this point, Nicholas was quite obviously on the FBI's radar, but he hadn't yet been charged with anything, so remained a free man. As for the ransom demand of 50 Bitcoin, Ubiquiti flat out refused to pay it. This made Nicholas very unhappy, so much so that even after being raided by the FBI, in what I can only imagine was a fit of rage, he launched a new campaign to damage Ubiquiti's reputation by any means necessary. Posing as an anonymous whistleblower, he contacted Brian Krebs, a well-respected reporter in the field of cybersecurity, tricking him into running a now famous article, "Whistleblower, Ubiquiti Breach Catastrophic," which claims the source, we'll call him Adam, spoke on condition of anonymity for fear of retribution by Ubiquiti. The whole article is essentially a list of false claims about the breach, that hackers apparently gained the ability to access all Ubiquiti customer devices, that hackers had root access to all Ubiquiti's servers, and that this Armageddon of a breach was all covered up by Ubiquiti's legal department. The article worked, people believed it, decimating Ubiquiti's reputation, causing their stock to plummet 20%, wiping $4 billion off their valuation overnight. But whatever satisfaction this all gave Nicholas, it didn't solve his bigger problem. And after a few months, the FBI arrested him for the extortion plot. But it doesn't end there. In a bizarre twist, Nicholas tried to argue that this was all White Hat's behaviour, that his little adventure was all part of some kind of unsanctioned security drill. However, this didn't get him very far, as he ended up pleading guilty, and has in the last few days been sentenced to 6 years in prison, and forced to pay roughly $1.6 million in damages. I just can't understand why a guy on a $250k salary would risk going to prison and becoming permanently unemployable, in other words ruining his life, for only 8 times his annual salary. If you guys can make sense of that, please let me know down below. Oh, and as for the false article, Ubiquity actually ended up suing Brian Krebs, not necessarily for posting the article in the first place, but rather they claimed that he didn't properly retract it when it all came out that Adam probably wasn't telling the truth, but the lawsuit was eventually pulled after Krebs posted an apology. This video is brought to you by PlexTrac, who are offering you a free 1-month trial of their premier cybersecurity reporting and collaboration platform. Get started today to learn why the best offensive security teams trust PlexTrac. PlexTrac empowers users to build better reports in half the time, exponentially increasing ROI and time savings, to aggregate findings from all their tools by consolidating the testing process into one platform, creating a single source of truth, and to maximize their reusable report content, like findings, write-ups, and narratives, improving consistency across the team. With PlexTrac, you'll become more efficient and effective, delivering better results from every engagement. Ready to elevate your reporting, improve collaboration across teams, and demonstrate real progress? Spend more time hacking and less time reporting with PlexTrac. Claim your free month of the PlexTrac platform exclusively for Satonic viewers using the link in the video description. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.